5422. AMP2.tv, the first and only internet television network that's truly plugged in. 866-224-5422. That's AMP2.tv.
This program is brought to you by the law firm of Altman, Flynn, and Kugler. We practice elder law and intellectual property, including patents, trademarks, and copyrights. If you would like to patent your idea, please contact our Fort Lauderdale office for a free consultation. Call 954-563-4814. That's 954-563-4814. Or visit us online at altmanpatent.com. That's OLTMANPATENT.com. Spokesperson, not an attorney. This program is brought to you by Fresh Start Tax. Fresh Start Tax offers a full range of tax and accounting services, including tax return preparation and bookkeeping, as well as back taxes, wage garnishments, unfiled returns, or any other tax-related concern. Our dedicated team of tax attorneys, CPAs, and former IRS agents offer over 60 years of professional tax experience. For a free consultation, call 866-700-1040. That's 866-700-1040. You can also visit us on the web at freshstarttax.com. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. The content of the following program, including all statements from the host and guests, is to provide general information and commentary about the law. Under no circumstances does any statement made by a host or guest to a caller or listener constitute legal advice or the formation of an attorney-client relationship, and the material from this program should not be viewed as a substitute for personal consultation with an attorney. Welcome to Talk Legal with Jeff Van Treese, who brings you all the latest news in the legal world. Jeff will be discussing a variety of legal topics with experts in the field. If you would like to ask a question or share a story on the air, please call toll-free 888-565-1470. Once again, that's 888-565-1470. Now, let's talk legal with Jeff Van Treese.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Talk Legal. I'm your host, Jeff Van Treese. I'm an attorney with the law firm Altman, Flynn, and Kugler, where we practice intellectual property law, including patents, trademarks, and copyrights. I'd also like to thank all of our listeners tuning in on the AM dial, as well as those watching online. If you have a question, comment, or story that you'd like to share on the air, please feel free to call us toll-free at 888-565-1470. You can also see all archived episodes of this show on our website at altmanpatent.com. That's OLTMANPATENT.com. A very special guest in studio this week. Her name's Heidi Friedman. Heidi is an elder law attorney. She practices in Coral Springs, and she specializes, I don't know if you're a specialist.
You can't say I'm specialized.
You're not a specialist.
No, I'm not a specialist.
I thought you might have been, but she practices extensively in the area of VA or veterans benefits, and that's what we're going to be discussing this evening. So Heidi, thank you so much, and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So, VA benefits, if you could just sort of explain to our listeners what that is and who's eligible to receive VA.
Sure. I deal mostly with a program called Aid in Attendance and/or Housebound. They're called improved pension programs. They are for wartime veterans who served during wartime, at least one day during wartime, but were in the military for a period of 90 days, who are in need of aid in attendance or who are homebound. In order to qualify, again, they have had to have served during wartime. They needed 90 days of service. They needed one of those days during a wartime. That does not necessarily mean that they needed to be overseas or seeing combat, but they needed to be in during wartime. They have to have be in need of care. They have to be over the age of 65 at this point. That's VA considers them disabled over this age of 65. But they also need to meet the financial requirements. One of the financial requirements, although not written but is well known, is that VA will not even look at their application unless they have under $80,000 worth of assets. Once they get below the $80,000, that's not a bright line test to say that they will automatically qualify. there's still a subjective part of that.
Now, does that include both liquid and illiquid assets? So is it just money in the bank account and stocks, or does that also include the value of your home or your car?
It includes everything minus your car and your home. So all other assets, whether they're liquid or non-liquid, it's cash in the bank, it's stocks, bonds, life insurance policies, anything of annuities, anything like that is considered your net worth under the VA standards.
If you own multiple properties or multiple cars, are you entitled to, or is all of that exempt, or is it just one home, one car?
One home, one car. So if you own multiple properties, the properties are included also. And the other thing that a lot of people don't know is that if you own your residence and you happen to be living in a facility and you rent out your home, a lot of people do that, then that home is no longer an excludable asset. It's now counted as part of your net worth.
I see. So is there any age limitations on VA?
VA, the program that I deal with, you need to be at least 65 years or older. VA does consider you disabled at the age of 65. So I don't know how close you are, but I'm almost close. So that's or fully disabled. Those are the two requirements.
So the wartime requirement is you have to have served 1 day of wartime, but 90 days total.
90 days total. That's correct.
And what are some of the benefits that you receive?
When you do qualify for the program, you get a tax-free monthly benefit, which is really, really very helpful for a lot of my elderly people who are paying for long-term care out of pocket. If you are a veteran, a single veteran, you get over $1,700 a month, tax-free dollars. A surviving spouse, which a lot of surviving spouses don't even know that they're entitled to this program, can receive $1,149 a month. And if you're a married couple, a veteran with a spouse, it's $2,149 a month. Again, tax-free dollars. So you're talking about almost $25,000 for a veteran and his spouse who need that money in order to help pay for their long-term care costs.
So if like you said, if you have the age requirement, but if you don't meet that, then you can potentially qualify if you suffer from a disability. What does that mean? What qualifies as a disability?
Well, right now, what qualifies as a disability for VA purposes is usually they look to the Social Security, what qualifies under that as well. And it's really and truly there, again, Jeff, there's many programs under the VA. What I deal with is mostly the elderly people. So I don't see a lot of people under the age of 65. My clientele is 65 or older, so they already meet that eligibility requirement. It's interesting, when I first started, I saw a lot of World War I veterans. And then they went to, then World War II, and now I'm seeing a lot more Korean.
There are no more World War I veterans left, actually.
I don't think so, but maybe that's giving away my age a little bit. But, now I'm seeing a lot more of the Vietnam, veterans, which is kind of funny. It's as I get older, my veterans go into the different wars.
Interesting. So if you're denied your application for benefits under the VA, there is an appeals process. If you could explain that to us.
There is an appeals process. I've been lucky enough not to have to go through it with any one of my clients, but there's a due process appeals process that people can go through when they get the claim. Usually what happens, though, is we make sure that all of our clients qualify before we actually apply. So I don't have those issues. I don't get that issue where most of my clients, really and truly, in the years that I've done it, I've never had to do an appeals for the VA. So
interesting. So are there any concerns with respect to Medicaid? If you're on Medicaid, can you also get VA benefits? You
can, but there are some significant concerns. The two programs are very helpful for people who are over the age of 65 and need long-term care. VA offers you dollars. Like I said, it's a tax-free monthly benefit that actually gives you dollars to spend how you need to spend, whether it's on medical expenses, living in an assisted living facility, your home, what you need to spend on. Medicaid, on the other hand, has two different programs. There's a home and community-based waiver program, which helps people who are either at home or in an assisted living facility, and the assisted living facility has to take Medicaid. Or there's called the ICP, or Institutionalized Care Program, and that's if you're going to a nursing home. So my best planning that I can do for a veteran and or his spouse is to get them VA benefits at home, plus get them on the home and community-based waiver program. Now, when you're doing the planning, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that do either Medicaid planning or VA planning and don't realize that the two programs have very different rules and regulations within them. Medicaid has a 5-year look back. You cannot gift under Medicaid. If you gift, then you're going to penalize somebody at the time that they actually apply for the program. VA, on the other hand, today does not have that kind of penalty period. They don't have a gifting program, gifting penalty. So you can give away all your money under the VA and still qualify for the program.
Just to clarify, you mentioned the difference between the ICP or institutionalized care program under Medicaid versus the waiver program. With the waiver program, there's limited funding, whereas with institutionalized care, it's backed by the U.S. Treasury. So if you qualify for the benefits, then you receive the funding. Yeah. But with the waiver program, you have waiting lists, and it's sometimes difficult to get that funding. Absolutely.
Right now, there's over 30,000 seniors in the state of Florida on that wait list. It's not properly funded. It's a shame, too, because the program was developed because the government realized that people who stay at home or live in assisted living facilities are happier. They live longer. I mean, it's obvious than going into a 24-hour care or skilled nursing facility. Also, it costs the government less money to keep people either at home or in their assisted living facilities. But despite all of that, you're right, there is a long wait list. I have clients who have been on the wait list for, 18 months to 2 years, and they're still waiting, and they're running out of money. And the problem is the wait list is not based on, it's a problem, it's not a problem. It's not based on a first come, first serve. It's who is at a higher risk of entering into a nursing home. People who are placed on the wait list are given a score based on a telephone conversation that they have with a case manager. And based on that score, they go on the list. And then, you could have thousands of people in front of you. What is not taken into consideration is anybody's finances. So I'll have people that are on assisted living facilities on the wait list that are running out of money. It's the proper placement for them. But because they can't afford to stay there, they now have to move to a skilled nursing facility in order to qualify for Medicaid and help pay for that facility.
And that's such a shame because, not only does a nursing home cost more, but it feels like you're in a hospital when you're in there. And these people don't really need to be in that setting with 24-hour nursing care. They could survive just fine in an assisted living facility. But the way that our system works, it's either nothing at all or nursing home.
Well, it is. And some of the assisted living facilities out there, I would want to move into. They're like living on a cruise ship. There's activities, there's apartments that are beautiful, there's food with chefs that are done, there's socialization. And then, you move somebody into a skilled nursing facility, and unfortunately, you're right, it is more like a hospital because you have the very, very sick there as well. The people that truly can't get out of bed or are very, very demented, and they can't do anything without somebody. So you have that range, and it is unfortunate that the government doesn't fully fund the program and get these people who really and truly need the money to be able to stay in a better environment for them, the money that they need.
And now, aren't there also VA nursing homes as well?
There are VA nursing homes, but I wouldn't recommend any of them.
You wouldn't recommend any of them. So
no.
You generally would counsel your clients to pursue a Medicaid alternative, even if they would qualify for VA nursing home care.
Understand 99.9% of the nursing homes in the state of Florida accept Medicaid. So I don't counsel my clients on where to go for nursing home care. What I counsel them on is how do you get into a nursing home, and then kind of pull the trigger to be able to qualify them for Medicaid, so that Medicaid will now come in and pick up the bulk of the payment of that care. Then they're able to use their own care to better, or their own money, to better their care while they're in the nursing home. So I don't counsel my clients at all to go into any specific Medicaid nursing home. What I tell them is that while either they're still okay or their parents are still okay, to go ahead and go take a tour of certain nursing homes. Find out which ones that you like, which ones you don't like. Have a list of 3. That way, when a crisis hits, you're not sitting there in, oh my God, where do I put my parent, or where do I put my husband? You pretty much know where you want to go.
And planning in advance is so important. You don't want to make the decision when you're in the 11th hour and somebody suffers a fall or a disability. It's better to have this conversation in advance.
It's always better to plan in advance. I equate myself a lot to when I deal with people. I say, do you have car insurance? And people who drive cars have car insurance. Well, do you hope that you'll never have to use your car insurance? Absolutely. Nobody wants to have to use their car insurance. I'm the same way, except for in my case, the chances of you using me are very high versus, getting into a car accident. Most people, each one of us has about a 70% chance of entering into a nursing home. That's why our nursing homes are full.
And that's why it's so important to have this conversation and plan in advance. We're going to have to take a short break to hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be back with Heidi Friedman. Stay tuned.
This program is brought to you by the law firm of Altman, Flynn, and Kubler. We practice elder law and intellectual property, including patents, trademarks, and copyrights. If you would like to patent your idea, please contact our Fort Lauderdale office for a free consultation. Call 954-563-4814. That's 954-563-4814. Or visit us online at altmanpatent.com. That's OLTMANPATENT.com. Spokesperson, not an attorney. This program is brought to you by Fresh Start Tax. Fresh Start Tax offers a full range of tax and accounting services, including tax return preparation and bookkeeping, as well as back taxes, wage garnishments, unfiled returns, or any other tax-related concern. Our dedicated team of tax attorneys, CPAs, and former IRS agents offer over 60 years of professional tax experience. For a free consultation, call 866-700-1040. That's 866-700-1040. You can also visit us on the web at freshstarttax.com. You're listening to Talk Legal with Jeff Van Treese, who brings you all the latest news in the legal world. If you would like to ask a question or share a story on the air, please call toll-free 888-565-1470. Once again, that's 888-565-1470. Now, back to Talk Legal with Jeff Van Treese.
And we're back. My guest this week is elder law attorney Heidi Friedman. We've been discussing VA benefits before the break, and I'd like to ask about some recent changes that I understand were made to the VA regulations.
They're actually not made yet. They are in the process. The VA has promulgated some new rules that will unfortunately adversely affect the VA, my clients, the veterans right now. They're trying to institute a 3-year look back. They're trying to institute some penalty periods for transferring of assets. Unfortunately, they're also going to try to get rid of some of our caregiver agreements. Right now we are able to contract with children. Our parents are allowed to contract with children who actually do provide them care, and they're able to pay them. So the new rules are very adverse to the veterans. I think there's some good in them. I would love for them to have a bright line income and asset test better than what they have right now, because again, right now it's very subjective. So that's one piece of the rule that I think should go through. But as far as trying to institute a 3-year look back and some of these penalty periods, they're just really not going to be fair for the veterans and or the surviving spouses.
And this is something the public should be aware of, because we always hear in the news about supporting the troops, but certainly we also want to support the troops that served in prior wars and all of the disabilities and difficulties as they age that come with the courageous serving that they've done.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't mean to
please
interrupt,
go ahead.
but I was going to say one reason why this is coming about, and it's unfortunate, is because you have people who are not attorneys trying to do VA planning. They get VA certified and then they're doing VA planning. And for example, even in the promulgated rules, one of the rules is that dance lessons are not considered medical expense. Now, who would ever try to say that a dance lesson or a dance class is a medical expense? So you get these non-attorneys that are trying to simply just make a dollar and not doing the right thing to qualify somebody for VA benefits, and that's what ultimately happens.
So this is there's a recent Florida Supreme Court decision about the unlicensed practice of law as it applies to elder laws. Essentially, it said that personal service contracts, that's is the practice of law. Non-attorneys can't do that. Income trusts for purposes of Medicaid eligibility, and really just giving legal advice about long-term care benefits. This is something that non-attorneys are not supposed to do. Because the consequences can be quite severe, because if they don't know what they're doing, it can potentially cost people after speaking to you, even much more than I had thought. You were saying it can cost them hundreds of thousands of
That's true.
dollars.
That's true. What's happened, it was very new to me just over the last couple of years, is what I've learned is that there are Medicaid planners. There's VA certified planners. And unfortunately, if you don't know both rules, like I said, both Medicaid and VA have their own individual set of rules. If you don't know both rules, you can literally cost a senior hundreds of thousands of dollars. There are some Medicaid certified planners and VA planners that have attorneys connected to them. Some of these attorneys have never even seen their clients. They're just doing planning based on, it's almost like a mill. Whoever comes there, they're doing an irrevocable trust. I, from one, had a client come to me whose mother was, had seen a VA certified planner who was connected to an attorney. The attorney did an irrevocable trust without ever even meeting the client. Mother got the VA benefits, which is great. She was making $1,100 a month for VA benefits, but unfortunately, 3 months later, she had a stroke. Well, now with a stroke, she went into a nursing home paying $10,000 a month. Well, because the attorney who never saw her put her into an irrevocable trust that I couldn't get her out of, Mother ended up spending 5 years of nursing home care before she could qualify for Medicaid. Ran through $600,000. That could have been protected and could have helped her better her care.
That's really amazing because, we were saying earlier how nursing home care is so expensive. Most people can't afford to pay it. And if you can afford to pay it for a short time, you're going to go through it. You're going to go through whatever savings you have, unless you're Donald Trump.
Absolutely. It's almost the average cost of nursing home care is about $80,000 a year. Down here, it's anywhere from $8,500 to $10,000 a month. And again, that's for basic care. That's for a shared room. That's for no extras whatsoever. So you could see where it's extremely expensive and why the Medicaid institutionalized care program is so important. That program will help pay for the cost of that shared room, minus that individual's income, which could be Social Security. That person does not have to go into a Medicaid nursing home. People have that belief, I'm not putting my loved one into a Medicaid nursing home. You can go into pretty much any nursing home, qualify for ICP, and now what money you're able to shelter or save, because Medicaid's paying for that kind of that $10,000 initially, you're able to pay to better that person's care, whether getting them a personal aid at night or getting them extra therapy or whatever to help better their care for the remainder of their life.
Just to put it in perspective, because I just have to emphasize this point, it can cost, like you said, $8,500 to $10,000 a month for a shared room in a nursing home. $10,000 a month would be like a month's rent in $1 million home.
Basically, yes.
So think about it for a minute. A month of living in $1 million home, the rent associated with that, it would be the same as living in a shared room in a nursing home.
That's correct. And now envision that you have a community spouse, a spouse that's living at home, and she or he is trying to pay that $10,000 a month just to have their loved one in a shared room in a nursing home, no extra care, plus try to have their own living expenses and try to, stay alive and stay above board, paying their home, paying their, utilities, paying their food, paying their car. Medicaid allows you to have $119,220 if you're living at home.
And this really is a nice segue into the next question, because sometimes elder attorneys like yourself and others are always asked the question, are you helping somebody rip off the taxpayer when they should be paying for their own care anyway? But of course, as we just discussed, they really can't pay for their own care unless you're a multimillionaire. How do you describe the need for Medicaid planning and the role of the elder law attorney?
Well, I am going to say there are some people out there that do unscrupulous things. And that's in anything that you do. There are multimillionaires that do planning and are able to get away with it, but that's not what we do. I always equate myself pretty much to like a tax, somebody who does taxes. Usually whenever I give any seminar, my first question is I ask people, do you pay taxes? Most people say yes. And do you hire a CPA or an accountant to be able to get you whatever deductions you're entitled to get to keep as much money in your pocket? Most people say yes. I do the same exact thing. Of course, the government would love for you to pay all your money in taxes, and that would make them happy. You don't want to do that. You want to keep more money in your pocket so that you could better your life, your lifestyle, what you need. I do the same thing. I help people qualify for these programs so that the government will pay for the basics, and then you get to keep, or your family members get to keep, some of your money to help better your care. money buys better care. There's no other way to say it. You can get, an aid. You can get additional therapies. You might be able to get more help at home, help somebody who's staying at home or staying in assisted living facilities, and that's why we do it.
And of course, there's nowhere in this country where there's any trend where multimillionaires or the very wealthy people are taking advantage of Medicaid or really any
Not that
government
I know of.
benefits.
No.
I mean, there's so many downsides to doing that, especially if you can afford to live in a luxurious place where you can have your own home health care aid, which usually people can't afford. That's why they have to go with the Medicaid benefits. People are going to do that if they can afford it. So the idea that you're going to incur all of these penalties, generation skipping taxes and so forth, it's just not something that's likely to happen. The vast majority of people receiving both VA and Medicaid benefits truly are in need of it.
Absolutely, because understand, again, when you're doing Medicaid planning and or VA planning, most of the time the person is losing control over their money. They're not having their money. So people who have multi-millions of dollars are not willing to do that. So I'm talking about more middle American, seniors who have saved as much as they possibly can throughout their lifetime, but now are in need of long-term care that is so expensive, and it's not something that they can just say, okay, I'm going to do without. They need it. So.
Right. Well, we have just a couple of minutes left. I want to make sure that you have a chance to give out your contact information in the event that our listeners may be in need of your services.
Okay. Again, my name is Heidi Friedman. I'm with the Elder Law Department, PA. You could always reach me at 954-383-1143 or see us on the web at elderlawdepartment.com.
And you're located in Coral Springs.
I'm located in Coral Springs, but one of the things that we do is we travel to all of our clients. We do not charge for house calls, and we don't charge for consultation fees.
That's an important part of the elder law practice is the house calls, because oftentimes you're dealing with people that have mobility issues and they can't necessarily make it in for a consultation.
That's true. And when I opened my own practice, I decided that I wanted to make it as convenient for seniors as possible. I find that people who are meeting with me in the comfort of their own home feel more comfortable talking to me. I get to see them. I get to see what their environment is, and I also get to see what they really need. And that's why we do it.
We have about a minute left. I guess we don't. That's my cue. I'd like to give a very special thanks to my guest, elder law attorney Heidi Friedman. Please tune in next week, Tuesday night, from 6 to 6:30, where my guest will be personal injury attorney Spencer Kuvan. This is Jeff Van Treese for Talk Legal. Thank you so much, and have a great evening.
Thank you for listening to Talk Legal with Jeff Van Treese. Tune in next week for more insightful and exciting information about the law. You can contact Jeff by email at jvt2law@gmail.com or give him a call at 561-789-6866. That's 561-789-6866. The content of the preceding program, including all statements from the host and guests, is to provide general information and commentary about the law. Under no circumstances does any statement made by a host or guest to a caller or listener constitute legal advice or the formation of an attorney-client relationship, and the material of this program should not be viewed as a substitute for personal consultation with an attorney. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those